Hey everyone, welcome to Brave Souls. So my guest tonight is my dear friend Yael Adler. She's a fellow Romanian adoptee, and she joined me earlier this season to talk about the end or the fall of communism in Romania, which had a huge role in both of our adoptions. Now she's going to come join me and share her personal adoption journey. Yael is also the author of From Gypsy to Jersey. So if you don't have a copy, go get one now right on Amazon, and I'm going to find out if we can get them on any more places where they're available. So I'm going to welcome Yael in, and she requested, so I'm going to pull her in now. I'm going to go live any second with her. Hi, Jim. Hey, Keith.
Hi,
Hi.
Yael. How are you?
Good. How are you? You look so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. You too. It's great to see you.
You too. How's
Can you
it
hear me
going?
okay?
Yeah, I can hear you perfect.
Great.
Let's get situated. Okay.
Sounds good.
Hi, Keith. So how was your day?
It was good. You know, crazy. 3 kids, life, work, the
Yeah, the
usual.
usual for you.
Just pushing through.
Oh,
How was your day?
it was good. It was really good. Beautiful weather.
Yes, finally.
Yeah.
Finally.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're not too far from me, so you know.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So I'm just gonna give it a few more seconds. Just wait for people to hop on, and we'll get started in a few minutes or a few seconds actually. Hi, Korean adopted.
Sounds good.
Korean adopted, please tell me your name because I always refer to you as Korean adopted on here, and I'd love to call you by name, so please let me know. So, other than that, so I said this was on Amazon. Is
Yes.
it anywhere else?
Thank you. Yes, it's on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, Goodreads. It's pretty much all over the place. So thank you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. So when I post the live after, comment on the bottom where else, because I'm gonna put it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, but put wherever else you said.
That's great. Thank you so much. I
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah,
it.
of course.
Thank you.
Tabitha. Okay, well, good. Now I know your name. Nice. Tabitha, perfect. Okay. Glad to make it tonight. I'm glad you're here, Keith. All right.
Yes, hello everyone. Thanks for joining.
I think people are enjoying the beautiful weather, so we might not have too many on tonight, but that's okay.
See people joining on. We're good.
Yeah. Ex-adoptee, hello, welcome. Ex-adoptee, what is your name? Let me know, so I don't always want to call people by their IG handle, especially when they're a recurring visitor. So, okay, so we'll jump in. So for anyone who comes on late or isn't able to join at all, I'll have the live saved to my page after. You'll be tagged, Yael. And all right, so yeah, so what I was saying was Yael was a guest on season 2 earlier this season, episode number 15. We talked about the fall of communism in Romania, our country we were born in, which played a really huge role, as I had before, in our adoption. And I mean, the reason why we're probably one of the biggest reasons why we're adopted. And now she is on to share her personal adoption story, and I'm super excited to, even though I've heard bits and pieces, this is my first time really hearing from start to beginning, or that, okay, yeah, it's
start to finish.
Start to finish, yeah. Okay, I promise I'm not drinking. I'm having Dr. Pepper.
Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for having me and thinking of me. It's great to be on and to be talking with you again. So, so I'll just begin by talking a little bit about my story.
Let me just say, okay, James, thank you so much for telling me your name. Perfect. Okay, perfect. Okay, yeah, so start from the beginning and we will take it from there.
Okay, great. So growing up, I always knew that I was adopted. My mother would read me children's books. I remember going to play groups and other social events. So, you know, I think my parents definitely made an effort to acknowledge my adoption in a positive way. And I had that growing up for sure. You know, we had conversations. They were were pretty generic, you know, the typical story. I grew up in Romania. Not that that's the typical story, but they would just tell me basically that the conditions were very poor growing up, and my birth mother really didn't have much to offer me, and she wanted me to have a better life. So that was really the reason that led to my adoption. And I kind of just accepted that. I wasn't very inquisitive about my adoption growing up. It was kind of just something that I didn't really give it a whole lot of thought. So I kind of just accepted it. And, you know, that was the story that they told me. There were definitely some pieces missing to that story, which, you know, I later found out about. And it was really when I turned 30 that I stumbled across these documents and photos and a video cleaning out my mother's apartment. And, you know, I was going through these things, and I quickly realized that, wow, these are all things pertaining to my adoption that I've never seen before. So it was kind of like this hidden treasure that I came across. And it was thrilling and terrifying at the same time, because I didn't know what I was going to uncover in my findings. So it was just kind of like this crazy thing that I found, and I'm looking it over. I'm seeing a court document. I'm seeing names. I'm seeing ages. I'm seeing unfamiliar faces. You know, I found out what my birth name was, which was Adriana, which is a whole lot easier to say than Yael.
I didn't know
But
that. That's beautiful.
Thank you. And, you know, it was just, it was kind of cool to come across this. And at that point in time, I think that's when things kind of came together for me. And I realized that I really do want to piece things together. And I really want to get a holistic picture of my adoption story. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, you know, I was thinking about writing a book, because I had always been passionate about writing, and I always wanted to write a book. Thank you. Yes.
Every time you say it, I'm going to put the book up.
I have my copy right here. Thank you. And, you know, I wanted to write a book, and things just kind of came together. So I told myself, you know, I'm going to write a book about my adoption, and this way I can also fill in the missing blanks to my story, and I can learn more about everything. So what I did next was, I thought a good place to start would be to track down the attorney who handled my adoption, which was 28 years earlier at the time. Yeah. So what I did was I just did a quick Google search, and I believed that I had found him. Mm-hmm. And I knew he was always based in Philadelphia, which wasn't very far. And I said, you know, what the heck? I'm going to send this guy an email, and let's see what happens, you know? Yeah. So
and for privacy purposes, we're going to leave the names.
Yes, I won't mention the name. Yeah. Right. So I decided to send him an email. In the subject line, it was, "You were involved in my Romanian adoption."
Oh, and, to the point.
Right. And I literally just wrote in the body of the email, you know, that, you know, I believe that you might have been the attorney involved in my adoption. While I don't expect you to remember me by any means or my case, it was so long ago, but, you know, I am interested in learning more, and, you know, any help and support that you could give, I'd really appreciate if you have the time. So I sent the email, and literally a few hours later, I get this phone call, and it's from Philadelphia, and I'm thinking, no way. And I answer the phone, and it was him. I couldn't believe it. I was literally in shock, and I'm trying to hold a conversation at the same time. And I'm just like, oh my God, am I really speaking to him? This is insane. Wow. So I'm having this conversation with him, and he, you know, of course, offers to help in any way that he can. And, you know, we have several conversations, and he provided a lot of context for me in terms of, you know, what was going on in the country at the time of my adoption, and what communist Romania was like. And it was really just incredible that he was able to give me so much background that I never knew about. Yeah. So that was really helpful. And then he also was able to connect me to someone who was living in Romania, who was able to help me with my birth search. And even later on, when it came time to have a reunion, he acted as my tour guide and translator while I was there. So that was really cool.
And just to tell everyone, so the lawyer who handled Yael's case also handled mine. And the translator, private investigator, who helped her, also helped with my finding my birth family and translating for me. So,
which is pretty wild, right?
Yes,
That we have that in
absolutely.
common and we share that. That's
Yes.
pretty wild.
I know.
Yeah, I think that's why we got along so well off the bat. We just had so much in common. It was just like, oh my
Absolutely.
God, what?
Yeah.
So you know, it led to my reunion, and I flew out to Romania and I met my birth mother and I met my birth sister. And it was a pretty incredible experience. You know, it was very positive for me, and it felt like they were celebrating my return home, like, which sounds so crazy, but it was like the long lost Adriana is home and we're going to celebrate her. And that's what it felt like. And I think that's so rare and unusual. And, you know, it certainly wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I went into the reunion without any expectations because I said, you know what, I think it's better for me to set it up like that, not setting my expectations high, not setting my expectations low. I just wanted to go into it.
And that's a good way to go into that.
Yeah, I just wanted to go into it open-minded and very go with the flow mentality. And I'm a pretty big control freak, so that wasn't easy by any means, but I said, you know, I don't want to get answers in my reunion. Like that wasn't the purpose of it for me. For me, it was more about observation. I wanted to observe the people. I wanted to observe the culture. I wanted to just observe my surroundings and really see what my life would have been like had I grown up there and stayed there. Right. So that's really what my whole reunion experience was like for me. And, you know, going back to, you know, some of the pieces that weren't fully disclosed to me was that, you know, I was born Roma, which was Gypsy. And, you know, that's a big piece of information, because thinking about that and learning more about what that meant, you know, really gave me more of an appreciation for my life now, because in the Roma society, you know, the women have very little, or they don't have any access to education, especially at the time when I was little. So there was no education for women. There were arranged marriages as early as age 13. You know, women didn't have jobs and careers or any level of independence or anything like that. So, you know, I look at my life now and I think about how different my life would have looked had I stayed there. So, you know, that was really a big part of my birth identity, and also kind of just how I put everything into perspective.
Wow. So, other than, you said it was like really beautiful meeting your birth mother and your birth sibling or sister. So, what emotions did you personally feel like? What went through your head when you met them for the first time?
Well, it's definitely overwhelming. And I think many people can relate to that feeling when you're going through the reunion process. You know, I think Danny even made a joke, the person who was with me translating and everything. He made a joke like, maybe tomorrow you want to think of some questions to ask.
Not just stare at him.
I was just at a loss for words. And, you know, that happens a lot. And I think, you know, it's okay to have awkward silences and have those like awkward moments, because, you know, it was just about taking it all in. You just want to take it all in and soak it all up. And, you know, that's kind of how I was feeling. And I felt like I was at a loss for words. You know, things were going on in my head, but I was just like, I just wanted to stare at them and see what was going on.
And,
like,
you know, I'm sure a lot of people in that situation, you know, they have it in their head, like how they're going to, you know, what they're going to ask their birth family, how they're going to feel. But then when in that moment, you just probably just stand there and you just freeze, like everything you think that was going to happen just completely went away.
Exactly. And I think that's perfectly okay, you know, and normal to happen. But yeah, that's what it was. You know, I have this picture on my Instagram, and I know you've seen it, where that first meeting with my birth mother, you know, I
have it on my story. I put it up today because it's so beautiful.
I saw that. That was very sweet. Thank you.
Every time I see that, it brings a tear to my eye, and it's just like, because it's so beautiful.
It was. It
And
was a
just like
really
with like
beautiful
her
moment.
with like the what are they called? The
Headscarf. Yeah.
scarf. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure what it's called, but
Yeah, it's a very touching picture.
yes. And
Yeah.
for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, there's a photo on my Instagram that shows that first meeting of me and my birth mother. And literally, it was her rushing up to me and holding my face and saying my name repeatedly, like Adriana, Adriana. And she just had tears streaming down her face. And it was just, it was like this woman just unleashed like 28 years of just her not knowing where I was, if I was okay, just everything. She just let it all out right there in that moment. And my heart just like went out to this woman because she was just so sweet. And she just wanted to embrace me. And, you know, it was just kind of this really special moment.
Yeah.
And I'll always have that. And it was just a really powerful moment.
Beautiful, beautiful.
It was.
So I don't know if I've ever asked you this before, but like I always say, if you don't want to answer, don't feel like you have to. Just tell me you don't want to answer. Do you know anything about your birth father?
So I, posed the question to my birth mother, and, in learning more about my adoption circumstances and everything, she did tell me that he was very abusive. He was a very physically abusive man. He drank a lot of alcohol, and he really didn't want to be in the picture. When I was born, he didn't even come to the hospital.
So he did know about you though.
He did know about me, but he didn't want to be involved.
Okay.
And just hearing stories that he would beat my birth mother from the time she was pregnant to afterwards. It seemed like any time that he had alcohol in his system, he would just find her and he would just physically beat her.
So it would only be when he drank?
When he drank, yeah.
Which is still terrible.
A lot of the time. Right.
Wow.
So it didn't seem like a very safe environment to be living in. So, I know that played a role in the decision to put me up for adoption as well. Right. And yeah, he really didn't want to be a part of the picture. Whereas, my birth sister, Monica, who's technically a half sister, she had a different biological father.
To ask you next. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. She had a different biological father. And now, his side of the family did help, and they did show some level of involvement. So they were able to help with her at least, which, made things easier. And that's really why she did not put her up for adoption. And things were just a little bit more difficult for me because he was just not a good person.
Right. Okay. And you just obviously you had no interest in reaching out to him because
it was kind of crazy. My last night in Romania as I'm packing, I get all of these random messages from relatives and people saying, "Oh my God, I heard you're in Romania. I've heard so much about you. I'd love to get to know you," and all of these things. And I'm like, whoa, oh my God, like all these people are reaching out to me. It was crazy. And word was just like getting out, right? To like the whole family. So I was getting all of these messages. And the day that I had come back from Romania, I get another random message. And it's just a photo at first of this man. And then somebody wrote, "This is your biological father." That was the whole text. It was just a photo. This is your biological father.
And then that's it. No other details, nothing.
That's it. And I'm like, okay, wow. That's intense. And then I quickly wanted to message Monica and just confirm this. And I'm like, did I like get this right? Am I like understanding this? And she's like, yeah, no, that is your biological father. And I was like, wow, okay. So I have this like random photo of him in my phone. And but truthfully, no, I really didn't have a desire to reach out to him because I think I just got so much satisfaction and fulfillment in, the relationship that I was able to have with Daniela, who's my birth mother, and my half sister Monica, that I didn't even really feel the need to reach out to him.
Yeah.
Especially if that was the history and everything behind.
And if you're if you're okay with that, then that's fine. I mean, you don't need to pursue, reaching out to your birth father if it's something that you don't want to do. Like some people, I guess, adoptees feel like you have to,
right,
in a way, because okay, you search for your birth mother, and then
right,
you search for your birth father for more answers. But if you're content with the results you got from your birth mother, then that's fine.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, it's funny how that works out because you would think that, some people might have that desire, like you said, to take that extra step and do that. But for me, it was I just had no desire to do that. And Daniela said to me, like, please don't reach out to him. He's such a horrible man. Like he hurt me so much. And I guess like in some weird way, like almost out of respect for her also, I didn't, do anything. But that really didn't cloud my judgment. Like it wasn't like that is what stopped me from not reaching out. But it was just something that I kept in mind too, because, I have a lot of respect for her and I wouldn't want to do anything that would really upset her either.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't deserve that. So yeah, I didn't have a desire to reach out to him.
And I think that's also normal too, especially in situations where the birth father is not a good person. And it kind of gives it more of the reason why it kind of, I'm trying to think what I'm trying to say. I'm a loss for words. I've been so bad the past few lives. I cannot get words out. I can't form them. I don't know why. Oh my gosh. It makes it easier. That's what I'm trying to say. It makes it easier for someone to not want to search for their one of their birth families if that person was maybe not a good person. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. But, no, absolutely. And I think it's just more important to focus on, the positive relationships and the positive outcomes and, the people that you want to be involved with. I had no interest in being involved with him in any way. So I just didn't feel the need to take those steps. But, I look at, Monica and Daniela and, they're such wonderful people that, it's great. And, that kind of just makes me think of, how lately I've been really thinking a lot about just the international adoption piece. And all the things that kind of come with being an international.
Oh, and this is something you wanted to address. Daria, it happens to me too, Michelle. Oh, good. I'm glad I'm not alone.
You're definitely not alone.
But no, yeah, I know you messaged me the other day and wanted to talk more about international adoptees, so please go.
Yeah, it was just something, the other night I was having trouble sleeping and I was just thinking about it. And I was just thinking about all the things that come with being an international adoptee. It's navigating the foreign country, the cultural differences, the language barriers, and all those things that, just kind of come with the territory. And, to one degree, it makes it so difficult when you're in this situation that I'm in where, there's mutual interest to have a relationship and be a part of one another's lives. So it makes that really challenging. But on the other hand, I've kind of stepped back and also have just been really grateful that this has been my experience overall, because not everybody gets this chance where they can connect like this with their birth family, and not everyone has such a positive outcome. So I think it's, taking a step back and also just kind of appreciating the situation for what it is. And acknowledging that, there are just some things that are out of our control and, we just need to make the best of it. So that's kind of just my feelings about being an international adoptee.
No, I mean, it's true. It's very true. It's very tough with the language barrier and a culture difference and the time difference and
Right.
There's so much, even with my own birth, like when I was talking to my half brother, mostly my half brother, just through Facebook Messenger, and it was tough. Like, even though Google translated like what we were saying,
Mm-hmm.
it was just like, if it wasn't the basic comments like or questions, it was just very hard to understand. Like,
Yes.
if like, you know, the normal like, hi, how are you, how's your day going, talk about the weather and all that stuff, but anything
Right.
like too, like, I guess too complex, it's
Mm-hmm.
just, it was just like, it was all over the place, and there were times I had to reread the message, and like I still don't understand, and it
Right.
gets stressful. Like, it gets very stressful, like, to
It does.
try to understand, because, you know, there are times where he just kept saying what, and I'm just like, that by then I'm just like, never mind, because I just don't know how else to phrase it.
Right.
But yeah.
And yeah, and you know, there are times where I've like really pictured what it would be like to just pick up the phone and call my birth mother or birth sister and just have a normal conversation. You know,
Without
it's
a
like
translator, and
without, yes, just being able
Yeah.
to speak the same language and just being able to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And I thought of, you know, like what would that would be like. So, you know,
Yeah. Is Bona Sifasi, is that Romanian?
it
I
is
know
that.
Bona is
So
is
that's,
good, right? Or is night?
yes, I think it's how are you? It's hello, how are you in Romanian.
I thought
That person,
Bona
Sarah,
was like Bona Ziwa is like good night. So I thought,
Buna is just hello. Buna is just like,
oh, right, okay,
yeah.
okay.
So, but that person who commented is my half sister's daughter.
Oh, welcome.
So yeah,
That's so nice that she's on here.
yeah, she is very sweet. She posted a picture on her Instagram, and her comment was like, "I can't wait for the day where I can get to know this person." And I was just like, oh, me
Does
too.
she live in Romania, or does she live in the United States?
No, she's in Romania. She lives with my birth sister. That's my daughter. Yeah,
Okay.
she's like 13 or she's in her early teens. Yeah.
And Bona Sifasi, that's hello, how are you?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, we're good. How are you? Yeah, there's not many words I know in Romanian. I know, okay, correct me if I'm wrong over there, but mulțumesc is thank you.
That's right. I know that one.
I know bună ziua, that's obviously good night. There was I used to know happy birthday. I know if I see it, like if I see it,
Lemultiani or something.
what is it?
Something Lemultiani or Multiani. Yeah.
Something like that. I do remember that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but there's not many, and I know a couple curse words, but we won't say that. So, yeah.
We'll keep this live clean. Okay.
Yes, yeah. Well, even though we say it, only one person will know it.
This is true. This is true. That's so funny.
But yeah.
I wish I could pick it up. You know, it's just finding the time and all of that. It's so hard. You know, it's not like I'm going to be able to learn Romanian tomorrow.
I was teaching myself Romanian for a while, and
Me too.
I thought I was like really like good at it, and I was like doing it in front of the mirror, and I'm like, I probably sound so stupid. But what I'm saying is because no one's there to correct me, but
I would do the same thing.
Multiani, yes.
Multiani. See, we were right.
Yep.
We were on it.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Sarah.
So I wanted to circle back and ask you what it was like for you growing up. Like, I know you said you knew your whole life you were adopted. Did you, ever get bullied in school because of it? Did you ever bully yourself because of it? Like, how did you feel growing up? Did you have friends that were adopted? I know I asked so many questions, but you just
no, those are great questions. No, so I did always know that I was adopted. It wasn't really something that I connected with. It was kind of like this thing where I knew I was adopted, but I didn't really connect with it. I didn't really think about it so much. It really wasn't a huge part of my life, even though it was a big part of my life, if that makes sense. It was just kind of, it was, in thinking about it, I remember I would, like, once I would make a friend or get close to someone, it was like, I remember like feeling like I had to disclose that I was adopted to them. And I don't know why. That's kind of like, it was kind of like this bizarre thing that I had. And I was just like, okay, like now I'm close to this person. I feel like in order for them to get to know me, like I have to tell them that I'm adopted. And I don't know why that was, but
No, I get that. I get
yeah,
it.
looking back, I realized that that was something that I did. And, you know, I think in high school or something, there was one time that I just got such a crazy, wild reaction from someone. And I remember calling my boyfriend at the time and like crying in the bathroom
Aww.
because it was just, I mean, the comment didn't even make any sense. It was just completely, you know, he said something like, you know, how does it feel to be like bought in a store, or just something totally like wild and out there that really didn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense at all, but I'm
It
sure
made no
as
sense.
being young, it would take you like, oh my gosh, like that's
Right.
horrible.
Right. But I think like the idea around it was like, how does it make you feel that you were basically like picked out and bought? And it was that kind of like a response, and it was just reaction rather. Wow. And I was kind of like, where would you get such a thing? Like, that's just such a crazy, wild, out there type of reaction. And I was just so upset by it because I didn't even know how to process that. And I just called my boyfriend at the time, and I'm like crying to him on the phone, and he's like, that person's an idiot. Like, don't worry about it. Just move on with your day. But, you know, it's just, but it brings up, you know, that people really have no clue how to react to this idea when somebody says that they're adopted. It's like people have no clue what to say, how to react. And, you know, that I think is an important reality. And I find that, you know, an interesting topic for conversation. Is just, you know, like I even myself being adopted, I feel like people have like approached me saying, you know, yeah, I've adopted and or I'm adopted. And it's almost like sometimes it's like, how do you react? You know, like what is the right way to react to that, you know?
Especially when you're not used to, I guess it like maybe you don't have anyone in your family who's adopted, or you didn't grow up with adoption around you, or
right.
Yeah, I get that, but that's still a very weird response.
Super weird.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, and I don't know, I guess like also growing up, it was like I would always randomly meet someone who was adopted. Mm-hmm. And it was always just like this random thing. And I mean, people go through life not meeting anyone who's adopted. And it was always kind of like this weird thing. Like I would just keep meeting in these random situations someone who was adopted. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like, it made me like stop and think about it. It's just like, was I meant to meet these people? Like what, you know, it's so interesting that, you know, in completely random, like coincidental situations that I would just meet these people who happen to be adopted. And I don't know, it's just, you know, I think in some way, you know, we're all meant to kind of like connect with one another to some degree. And I think, you know, that's why it's so great that there's so many platforms and so many, you know, such a large and strong adoption community out there, which I never knew about.
And it keeps growing.
And it keeps growing, which is so amazing because it's so important that we, you know, we find each other as adoptees and we connect and we share our stories and, you know, we voice what's on our minds and, you know, we help each other get through whatever we need to process. And just having that support system is really great.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's people agreeing on here right now. James, Rachel. Do you know Rachel? Birthmark.stories.
I'm not sure.
So Rachel and her sister Sarah, they're both adopted. They just started this series to basically talk about their adoption and coming out of the fog. And they're both adopted from Peru. Very sweet girls. So you can follow both of them on Rewriting Adoption.
Oh, I definitely will.
And I did post on my story their latest live. So you can just go right there and follow them. But they're very sweet girls. So, and that's what I was telling them, like, I love that what they're doing, like that we have these platforms so we can not only share our story, but we can share others as well. And like you said, it's a community, and this really helps someone else, like, you know, just comfort them, just let them know, like, they're not alone, you know, they weren't the only ones that felt this way, or they still feel this way. And It's just a great support system to have, for sure.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more.
So I think my last question I wanted to ask you was, not the last question, but you are the only sibling from your adoptive, or the only child from your adoptive parents, or
Yes,
do you have any?
it's
You
just
are.
me. Yes,
Okay.
I grew up as an only child. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And that was another thing that was pretty wild with, Monica too in Romania. She grew up as an only child, but thinking about how culturally rare that is, because everyone around her had all of these siblings, and everyone around her and in the community had such large families. So here, like, both of us are growing up as only children, not knowing about one another our whole lives, and we're living such different lives. And it was so cool to be able to meet her. And I think it's so different once you find out that you have a biological sibling. It's like you automatically just like feel this closeness, and you just like want to be close and want to catch up and make up for lost time, and it's such a different relationship than you have with maybe your birth mother or your birth father. And it's just something about that sibling connection. And like I joke about it in my book that like every time we talk to each other, she says the word. Yes, and From Gypsy to Jersey, my book. I share all these different experiences along the way, and I make a joke in there that like every time we talk to each other on Google Translate, we use the word like sister in like every sentence. It's like, how are you, sister? Like, and it's like we're making up
It's
for
funny.
lost time.
My half brother and I used to do that all the time.
Really?
It's just something I think that just happens because I don't call my brother my adoptive brother, but I don't really prefer him as my adopted brother, obviously. But on here I do.
Right.
But I never just go to him and say, "Hey, adopted brother," or I don't text him that. But with my half brother, he always said hi, sister, to me, and I always replied like, "Hi, brother."
Right.
So it's just like, and I just, that's not, I was never like raised like to do that in a text, but it just kind of naturally
Exactly.
happened.
So
Yeah.
it's so funny. So it's like every
It's
morning
funny.
she sends me a text like, how are you, sister? Let's have coffee. And she sends me a picture of coffee and like a croissant, like we're having like breakfast together.
That's so sweet. Aww.
It is really sweet. So so it's just so funny how, yeah, in every sentence that we're talking to one another, it's just like, how are you, sister? This sister, and it's just, but it's nice. It's nice to hear the word sister, it's
especially being an only child too. So yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Really.
So
the last thing I want to wrap up, and I want everyone to know, even though it's in your book, obviously, but how did you get adopted? Because we talked about this when we had the Fall of Communists live.
Yes.
The reason behind, why your parents adopted you.
Yes, that's a great question. Thanks for bringing that up, because I forgot to mention it. So my parents, they were struggling to conceive for many years, and in the early 90s, ABC 2020, they actually aired a really moving series about what was going on in Romania, because right after the fall of communism, there were hundreds and thousands of orphans in the orphanages, and ABC
Me
2020,
being one of them.
You being one of them.
Yeah.
And ABC 2020 really wanted to shed light on this and let the whole world know what was going on. So it was one of those segments that actually my parents watched. I was not in an orphanage. Mine was a private adoption. But in that particular segment, they did mention private adoptions as well happening. So it was then that my parents called the studio from that very segment that aired on 2020. And they got the name of that attorney who ended up helping them with my adoption.
Yeah.
And it's like I have this, like, I wrote letters to like Barbara Walters in 2020, and just, thanking them, and it just being such a, impactful time.
Did they reply back to you?
No.
Oh. That would have been
But
nice.
that was a long shot. That's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, ABC 2020, I think a lot is just really big in that early 90s. A lot of people know of this segment that aired, and there was a really famous one called Shame of a Nation.
Yeah.
That was really, really brutal to watch. And it showed a lot of orphans being mistreated, really, really horrible.
A lot of them especially when they were mentally in the mental institutes, they got it worse too.
Yes.
Just having like a mental illness or a defect, and I felt like they were just abused by their caretakers, other kids, and in the orphanage, and it's really
They
sad.
were. It was really sad, but I think that ABC helped a lot of people and a lot of families come together, and because of that broadcast, people all over, they were flooding Romania trying to adopt children who needed homes and who needed families, and I guess I'll just always be grateful to ABC 2020.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Zach said the same thing, same for my parents, ABC 2020. I didn't know that, Zach.
Hi, Zach. Cool. Yes.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, as we wrap up, is there anything that we didn't get to that you want to talk about, share?
No, I think I shared, my story. I definitely, cover some more things in my book. So
yeah,
anybody who's able to check out my book, I really
Yael
appreciate.
has a book hold on, the lighting's bad. From Gypsy to Jersey. It shares all about fall of communism and also her journey, her adoption journey. So yeah, so it's on, I learned, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles.
It's on Goodreads.
Goodreads.
Yep. And yeah, it's pretty much all online.
Go get yourself a copy.
Thank you.
Unlike me, you won't I have a personalized message from Yael herself, but we went to breakfast not too long ago, and I brought my book as a joke because I told her I wanted her autograph, and then she signed it like it was like a yearbook. It was really funny. But yeah, this was so nice. And
so nice.
Thank you everyone for joining tonight, and always love when people chime in and talk with us and be a part of the conversation. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me again, and I'm glad this time we got to talk more about you. So
yes, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure speaking with you, Michelle, and keep doing all the great work that you're doing. Thank you.
You too.
All right,
okay, guys. Great night.
Good night. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Bye.